Okay, and for control layers, let's start with Canny edges. So I have my prompt here, and let's make a new control layer. And inside of that, I will start to draw my control layer. So just take a white brush, make it 2 pixel, and let's start. So I have a brutalist concrete architecture and Swiss Alps in the background. So I will start with my architecture. So I will have something simple, like a block here. Maybe in an unusual shape. Then we can make the roadway onto here. It's very amateur, but I think you can guess what to do with it. All right. So I think this is it. Maybe we want something else, but we can leave it up to the interpretation what to do out of it. But I think I'm quite happy. So let's choose the model, and we have this Union probe. And so let's try this and hit generate. All right, I think that worked quite well, but you can see it's a bit, these jagged edges is a bit staying very close to my lines, because when we overlay them here, you can see it exactly stayed within my lines, even though I had a bit interesting lines. Okay, so let's make it a bit lower weight. So the standard weight is 0.75. So let's lower it to 0.65 maybe. And let's try again. So I will deactivate this layer. And let's try again. All right. And now let's compare. I think it stayed pretty close to my sketch again. But you can see some lines are more rectangular than before. So let's go a little bit lower even. Deactivate the layer. Okay, and this can also happen quickly. So sometimes when you do it too much, now we can accept it so we can see the lines again. And it will be a lot different from your original sketch. So you have to find the right threshold. So maybe 0.6 is the way to go. So I will try once more. And now you have painted your own Canny edges. All right, so now we can compare all of them. So I have this one here. Let's quickly turn this off. So we have this one, that one, and this one. I think maybe the first one was the best, even though the architecture was a bit, let's say, interesting. But composition-wise, it was very close to what I imagined. So yeah, this is how to do Canny edges by drawing itself. In the next step, we're going to use a reference image. And what we can also do is take an existing image as a reference. So let's make a new control layer and upload the image. All right, so inside of here, again, select Canny edge detection. Because you cannot see it right now, I have to activate it again. And you can see it's too big, but we can still apply it. And go to the selection tool. And then zoom out for a second. Select the image, right click, transform. Now hold the shift button so it stays in shape. No, actually don't hold it. It works like this. Yes, okay. So I'm using my arrow keys now to adjust it. I think that's quite fine. Then hit apply. So we have our Canny edge detection. And so it just took the lines out of the architecture, but I also want the Swiss Alps in the background. So let's try to paint them in by ourselves. So, okay, I think that might work. So let's hit the prompt. All right, I think that looks quite well. So let's see. Yeah, it stayed within my lines. So I can exactly predict where everything is going. And so let's deactivate them. Yeah, that's pretty good, I think. So this is using a reference image, and you can also combine it with your sketch. And what you might want to do is sometimes to keep certain features, like the overall architecture, but I want to delete the details, so it can be interpreted again. So let's delete those. So make sure you select the control layer, take a eraser, and then maybe deactivate the layer so I can see better. So select this one again, and delete the parts you don't want. And now let's try again. Yeah, so that's interesting. So the sun is coming out of the building. Maybe we would have to try again. But otherwise, I think it's quite different from the one before. So let's compare it. Yeah, I think you can imagine what to do with it. And just make sure you keep the lines you want. There's one last technique I want to show you with Canny edges, and it's not the way you probably expect. So I have a prompt, an old man sitting on a stool inside of a photo studio, white background, a bit of studio setup maybe, and the negative prompt is as always. So let's take a control layer and upload an image. We can again take anything, basically. So we would select this one, and then make Canny edge detection again, apply it. Then let's select it and fit to bounding box so it fits inside of the image. And now let's turn the weight lower. So let's make it 0.4 and let's see what happens. Or maybe just deactivate it for once and see what happens when we don't do it. So I will do 2 generations. Okay, so what you can see, we have kind of the standard image that we expected, right? I don't know what's going on here, but in general, this is just centered in the middle of the frame. Quite usual poses. We can do a few more. So let's, delete those and do 2 more. Yeah, and you can see the man is always centered in the middle of the frame, quite with the same pose, almost always. So let's delete those and turn on the very low weight and guidance. So let's try again. All right, so the first image didn't work. So if we look up here, then it tried to resemble the building. Maybe it was still too high. But the second one is quite interesting, right? So it's quite unusual. And maybe we can keep this one and try again. So let's make the weight a little bit lower. All right, so here it's important that you find the right balance on the weight scale. So I think that's also a bit unusual, but I don't know what's going on with the lag here. And this one is also fine. I don't know where the faces are looking a bit weird. But yeah, in general, that's a trick. So you can do low weight Canny edges of basically anything and then fiddle around with the slider. And at some point you will get images that don't look as standard as the typical AI first image generation looks like.